day was a mixed bag. It was a mixed bag of disappointment. Wait, do you even have a good reading month? Okay, I had great reading months, but very stressful reading months. So let's get right into it. The first book that I read as May started was You with a View by Jessica Joyce. This is a romance. Will I describe it as a second chance romance? Because they knew each other in high school, but then they were enemies in high school, and by enemies, they were like academic rivals. And then now, a few years later, they meet again because apparently the female protagonist, her grandmother was in love stroke engaged to the male protagonist's grandfather. Her grandmother is long gone or shortly gone because they died recently, and through that grief, she kind of reunites with this granddad to learn more about her grandmother's life when she was young, and she finds out that the grandson is her former academic rival who has been doing so well for himself. Like he has money, he has financial stability. I don't know, he's successful in his career while she's struggling with grief, struggling to know what she wants to do with her life. So it follows kind of that journey, and I don't have much to say about the quality of the book. It was okay. I had a decent time. I think what really took me out was the mention of TikTok. I do understand social media exists in our world, but sometimes when I'm reading a book and it's just centered on one social media app, in this case TikTok, I don't know, it just does something to me and then it takes me out of the book and then I'm like, okay, I get it. I see why, because it's through TikTok that she reunited with this guy's grandpa and she was able to find out about her grandma's life. But then I think it was just too much for me. The second book, I'm just waiting for that noise to just stop. The second book was August Lane by Regina. I was immediately about to say Regina George from Mean Girls. No, it was by Regina King, if I'm not mistaken. Or am I just mentioning the actresses? It was by Regina, a beautiful woman named Regina. August Lane. I was so disappointed. I was so excited for this book. Let me tell you, I was. It has been on my TBR for so long, and I've just been looking at it and saying, when I find you, when I catch you, Ricky, I'm going to read you. I'm going to read the heck out of you. I'm going to be so excited. I just love the cover. I love the premise. It's a second chance romance set in the south, a small town in the south, and it covers, this musical family. The girl's family is a musical like legend family. They sing the cowboy song. What's that genre called? Country. And this guy is also like musically inclined, and he stole from her when they were younger. He stole a piece of music that went to catapult him to fame. And the girl is still struggling, the woman is still struggling, but they kind of, under some circumstances, they find themselves back in the same town and working on new music together. So the premise was very, very interesting to me. I love anything to do with music. Please me, pick me, please. So I was very, very excited. But then when I was reading it, I don't know, I just didn't connect with the book. I then the characters were very I don't know. I was more interested in the history of country music as told by the mother of the protagonist. The information that I was getting about country, and just I love a little bit of historical lessons in the fiction books that I read. So I was having a time when it was, in relation to the music part, the history of music in that area. I loved it. But then the two characters, I don't know. I don't necessarily see why he stole her music to begin with. I don't see why I should forgive it, or I should. I At the end of the day, I didn't see why I should care about these characters. So that was very disappointing because I was so very excited to read this book, and I think also it's something to do with the writing of the author, which was very spectacular, but just not for me. So both of those books were 3 stars, and then that's on my 3 star. But for me, 3 stars are just decent, like decent reads. Then I went into my first read, and that was Core by Kennedy Ryan. Let me tell you, I've been waiting for her to continue the Hollywood Renaissance series. I know Skyland was a hit. I love Skyland, but the Holy, I am obsessed with that. The first book was, I think, Real, film Real, like Real. So I was very excited when I heard that she was continuing with that series, and next book will be Score. It followed a composer, again, music. Find me where there's music. So it follows a composer and a screenwriter. Again, as a writer, I was just like, yay, representation. So yeah, I was really very excited. And it really, that excitement really worked out well for me because it was so good. Her way of writing, I could tell there was so much research in that book because it follows a protagonist who has bipolar disorder, and it was written with so much understanding, so much love. I could tell she really cared about her, whatever she was writing about, the author really cared about it. It was beautifully written, the characters were interesting, the plot was interesting, even the paper of the book was like everything about that book was just so good. I loved it. I love Kennedy. Oh my god. I cannot wait for her books to be adapted into film. In my heart, I champion Tia Williams and Kennedy Ryan's books to be to be adapted. I know we're in the age of skating movies, skating books being white skating um books being adapted, and let me say I loved Heated Rivalry. Like I am a fan, and I like the real ones, the thing, the of campus ones. I like the thing, and it was a good time. I can't say it was not a good time, but I would want such rich stories, such rich writing to have a chance on screen. So I had that time. The next book was Blue Sisters by Coco Mellers. This is the second book by this author that I'm reading. I think it's also her second book, if I'm not mistaken. The first one was Cleo and Frankenstein, which I loved, but it was a decent, like 3 stars, if I'm not mistaken. But this one I loved. It follows 4 sisters, one who passed away, and she died because of an overdose. And the reason why she overdosed was because she has endometriosis, and the pain was too much and she couldn't get painkillers, so she ended up dying. Again, the fentanyl crisis in the United States, I personally just I loved seeing how grief is so different. These are 4 sisters, same home, but how they experience grief so differently, how they manage it. And what I especially liked was how Coco made each sister feel so different, so distinct, that I could close my eyes and point out, this is Bonnie, this is this sister. It was so good. I deeply enjoyed it. It was fun in that I not fun. The book is heavy, but fun in the sense that I myself enjoyed reading the book. So yeah, oh, it was such a good way to close the month. Then I went right in as June started with a bit of a historical romance. I have been meaning to go back to historical romance just because um I'm in the I'm in the phase of my life where I am working more on writing, and historical romance is a good way to, I don't know, hone that skill because they're very detailed. They're very, I don't know, they do a good job in describing things. And I've heard of Felicity Neven's Convergence of Desire as a good romance novel that just does something that modern contemporary novels don't do in romance. And I was excited to try it. I loved it. She's this scientist, mathematician, who obviously in the age of the early 1900s, she can't really be allowed to show her genius. So she gets into this marriage so that she can focus on, when you're already married, no one in society is bothering you with questions like, oh my god, when will you get married? I'm sorry, nobody got time for that. So it was really nice to, I loved her. I loved the character. She was so interesting. I didn't understand a lot of the math things. I'd rather I didn't care. But even with math involved, I still love that book. The characters were interesting. The setting was really well, explained. I could get into it really easily, and it was so well written. I really, I know well written is very subjective, but it was very, very well written. I personally enjoyed it. One of the best. It reminds me there was this series on Wattpad when I was younger. I don't remember, and my friends and I were obsessed with it. Especially my closest friend, and we used am I getting it wrong? I feel like we used to talk about it all the time because it was so. I'll ask her about it. It was so. It was reminding me of that time of my youth. I was just there reading about. I don't remember what the series was called, but it's very similar. Yeah, but now the difference is in that series, I think she was an activist more than she was a scientist, or she was. I don't. It was years ago, so I can't remember, but it's something of the sort. Then there's Butch Blues, Hijabi Butch Blues by Lamia H. This was recommended by my again closest friend for. I think she's recommended this book since I've known her, maybe since 2021, so 5 years or four. So I felt really good picking it up finally because there's a book she has recommended to me since 2018. Have I read it? I always feel so. I'm really like, oh my god, when will I get to this book? So to finally pick up a book that she has recommended for the longest time felt so good, and I deeply enjoyed it. It's a memoir, and it follows obviously by the name a hijabi who is Butch, who is queer, and she's Muslim. And it's interesting. I like to just again put myself in other people's shoes. We never really get an idea of who this person is, and I liked that. I liked how she did it because I know it was maybe for her privacy, but it can be any of us. You can place yourself in her shoes. It was very separate but very intimate because again it's a memoir, so we never really get to know her name or how she looks like specifically, and I found that interesting. Maybe it was for her privacy, but you could just put yourself in her position. The problems she has experienced being a queer Muslim, how she has learned to view the world around her, coming to the US, um and before that I think she migrated to, I think, Dubai. So again the differences in race and just how racism is, and colorism, you wouldn't expect that kind of thing in Dubai, for example, considering she is Muslim, and I think she's Indian, if I'm not mistaken, or from Southern Asia. So I didn't know that there could be that difference if you immigrate to a Muslim country. But interestingly, there's still colorism, there's still a form of racism. Then she goes to the US. There's Islamophobia sprinkled in, and then now there's the overlapping issue where that she is queer. So I really enjoyed it. It took me a really short time to get through, and yeah, I enjoyed it. Then after that, I decided I need to give my physical books some attention, and I started with this Wahala. Wahala was a gift by, I think my sister gave this to me in 2023 as a birthday gift. I hadn't read it, so I was like, this looks nice. I love how I still do this. Anytime I have a physical book in my hand, I must come and smell it and just appreciate it because I love it so much. So Wahala by Nikki May, it's actually getting adapted. That's what made me like want to pick it up quicker because I don't want adaptation to come and spoil. So I read it. Let me tell you, this book was infuriating. I don't know where I was reading this, and was I reading it with? I was reading it with friends. Was I? I never remember anything. But I was reading this book and I was around someone, and I remember they asked me if I was okay because I was just getting so mad. The plot of this book is crazy because how they describe it, Ronke, Simi, and Boo, those are three main characters who are friends, are inseparable mixed race friends living in London. They have the gift of two cultures, Nigerian and English, though they don't all choose to see it that way. Everyday racism has never held them back, but now in their 30s, they question their future. Ronke wants a husband, he must be Nigerian. Boo enjoys correction, endures stay at home motherhood, while Simi, full of fashion career dreams, rolls her eyes as her boss refers to her as an urban vibe. Yet again, Then Isabel walks in. She's not directly in the friend group, but she later on comes to join. So ideally, this book discusses racism, colorism, the workplace, motherhood, all those things. It has a variety of topics. What gnawed at me, what really icked me was how this book described race. I don't know. It was so uncomfortable for me. Maybe I am the problem. The way it discussed race, I was just rolling my eyes. Then I was able to get through that. I could understand the problems that these women have. You want to get married, you're at a certain age, okay, understandable. You want to advance your career, but then they view you as like a DI hire. Again, I get that. I get the problems that may come with that. Then there's Boo who doesn't necessarily enjoy motherhood in the way that it's glamorized and romanticized. But now when Isobel walked in, immediately I could tell something was off because I think that's how the author wanted you to. You know something that the protagonist in the book don't know. I think that's how it was supposed to, like, it's written that way for a reason, and I love that. But the things she was doing and then when you reach the end and you find her reasoning, I found it so stupid. I couldn't believe I read all that for that kind of ending. So this was definitely a disappointment. I was so disappointed, and most importantly, I was infuriated. I've never read a book in fury like this because I just had to get to the end. I really needed to know what's going on in this. And then I closed the month with evenings and weekends, and this one has been on my to read list for a while. So I was also excited to get into it, but then it's also a bit infuriating. So many things were happening to people, and it's a connected group of people: a mother and a son, two brothers, two friends, a married couple, or a fianced couple who, are about to have a baby. So they're all connected. They're friends, two best friends. So that was fun. But then also, I felt like for this, a lot was happening, and it was also getting infuriating. But the ending was good. Towards the end, I liked how the author wrapped things up, and I have some favorite quotes from this. I even tabbed it because I was like, he was never young, never went to university. He went straight from childhood to adulthood with no in between. I feel like I feel that I feel like sometimes it feels like I went from childhood to adulthood really quickly. So, um, and sometimes I'm still a child, so it's a bit of both. It's just there was some really interesting, quotes, and just I liked how it was written, and the chapters are fairly short, so you can get through it quite quickly. And I think it's interesting enough that you can you can keep the pace, but it's one of those books. Once you start, I wouldn't advise you to put it down because otherwise, then you'll be disinterested in the middle. Yeah, but it was okay. It was a decent read. It was like a 3-star read. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed it enough, but I wouldn't say it was the best read. But it was good enough. This was infuriating. This I could manage. This was angering me with payoff. This was just rage with nothing to show for it after finishing the book. So yeah, that's what I read in May and June. July has been kind of slow. I I don't know how much I'll read, but I'm hoping that I'll make a dent